What's good, Gifted? This is your host, Steph Wood, and I'm coming to you again from my city, Norfolk, Virginia. What is good, my gifted people? Today is another day. I say this every time I'm in the presence of you guys. It's another day to be grateful. It's another day to be breathing, to be out here, living our gifts, doing the thing that we're supposed to be doing. And for my 30-second soapbox today, I just briefly want to say how much I love all of my people, all of my family, my friends who are of a darker persuasion. These folks are there's so much love that comes with each and every individual one of them, because they are legitimately the greatest people. They all have this unique thing about them, just like every one of my other friends. And they're so pivotal to my everyday state of mind, to my success as a person. Many are mentors, teachers, friends, associates, my best girlfriends. I grew up playing sports with a majority of African-American girls, and of course on the men's side, African-American men. It was a community of working hard to achieve goals. It was a community of growing up to be edgy and good and tough and smart and kind, compassionate, all these things that I learned and continue to learn in my environment. I'm a very cultured person. I love all people, and I've lived with people from Asia. I've helped to raise Korean boys. I've taught and coached young Black male athletes. I've taught and coached young Black female athletes, and I have been influenced by the same. And I just want to put it out there that you all know me, but for someone who may not think that they know me, or for someone who thinks that they don't know me or do know me, let me be very clear. I stand against all racial profiling, all racial inequality, and I stand with respect, honor, truth, and I stand with what Christ would want for us to do right now. So that's my 30-second soapbox. I probably went a little over 30 seconds, but I'm okay with that. I am excited today because I have an awesome guest coming on the show. This is one of the most unique people you'll probably ever meet in your life. Not only that, but the talents this woman has really pinned her the 21st century Renaissance woman. And I'm talking about a chick who has been in ministry. She's a project manager. And I probably messed that one up because she was probably a project manager like 10 years ago. The girl has an MBA, a P something HD in ministry and everything else. Not only that, but she also holds certificates in worship. And if you've never seen this chick dance, you are really missing the glory of God that falls on her when she begins to worship and dance and arts. And she's a mom, and she's just a dope client as well. I got to put it on her. Today, I'm honored to bring in my friend, my inspiration in this world a lot of times, Nicole Ellis. Nik, what's good?
What's good, Steph? Hey, girl, hey.
I am so excited that you had some free time for me, that you were able to come on and chat today. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited. I'm super excited.
Well, a lot of people have been seeing you on the TV of late. Like today, WTKR Channel 3, you were interviewed again about what you've been doing with the great Ellis Academy and how you've been, holding it down for your babies, but also really inspiring a lot of moms to do more with their kids, do different things with their kids. And today you talked a lot about how you've been able to educate your children through this racial struggle that our country is going through now. But first, talk about this Ellis Academy and what's been good with that.
Well, so Ellis Academy became this brainchild that was birthed during this pandemic. And probably about the second week of March, they shut everything down. Kids were pulled from school. I'm working from home, and now the kids still have to complete a school year. And so it's like, what in the world are we gonna do? I'm not a teacher. We can't send our kids anywhere, but we decided, hey, let's create Ellis Academy. And so it's where, we just took something at our house, took our last name, of course, Ellis, and decided to create an environment where our kids can continue to learn and have fun all at the same time.
Right. And it's so terrific because, I've been checking you out. And another thing I'm sure it does for you is it provides you some structure, because as you know, if you don't have any structure in what you're trying to get accomplished in a day, I'm sure the day can just skirt right away from you.
Oh, most definitely.
So today, you guys were interviewed again by WTKR News Channel 3, and it was very, I hope that everyone was able to get it, because I know the president came on right after that, or not 45, but 44. He came on right after that. I just want to be clear of who that was. But tell us a little bit about what today was for, and a little bit about how you came to be called to discuss, educating your children during this racial inequality time here.
Well, today the topic was about how do parents educate their children and talk about what's happening today. And so I received a call today, from one of the newscasters of WTKR, and she basically was like, hey, I want to talk with parents about how they are educating their children during this time, and I thought of you. And so I bless God for the opportunity that she thought of me. She remembered me from our first encounter just a couple months ago when we talked about Ellis Academy. And it was about just, what do you do as a parent to, make them aware of what's happening in the world, but also to give parents some advice on how they can do it. And so today was just about sharing, be on your child's level, use words they can understand. At the end of the day, every parent parents differently, but I feel like we're currently trying to figure this out. Like, literally, parents are parenting together, because this is stuff we didn't have to deal with, and now we are. And so today was just a time of awareness and encouragement to parents, and I pray that it was helpful.
Well, it definitely was helpful. And children, you are right, are extremely vulnerable at this time, but they're also the power, because as President Obama said in his speech this afternoon, he said the children, the youth make the change happen. He mentioned that Martin Luther King was young. He mentioned that Malcolm X was young. He mentioned that the women that pushed the suffrage movement so that women could vote were young. LGBT people who are fighting, young. And too, it's that youth. So what kinds of things are you having to fight back personally when you address your children, so that you can save them, so that you can make sure they're, like you say, giving that appropriate discussion, that appropriate conversation, because you don't want to just scorch them for life.
Right. A big piece is, me and my husband, we made the decision not to have them sit in front of the news when we're watching it. We also are trying to monitor how much we're watching ourselves, because, the images, the videos, it's overwhelming. It can be mentally draining, and we don't want the kids to deal with that. That's such a heavy weight. And so one of the things we do is we don't share the news straight from the news with them, right? As a parent, we are the gatekeeper to what they receive. And so we stand on guard of what they're watching, what they're hearing, so that we can share that narrative. And so when we speak to our children, it's about filtering it in a way that you can do practical examples. I think one of the things that God has gifted me with that I've been able to do well is, how can I take a serious situation and put it on your level that you can now process it, right? So you can use examples, comparison of school bullying, when someone's not being nice to you, those type of things. The news is not giving us that soft language right now. And I don't want them to be scared about what's happening, but I want them to be educated. I want them to be aware. And today we spent time talking about the importance of knowing who they are as African American children, knowing that they are loved by God. And just because some people may not like you doesn't mean that something's wrong with you. I said, something's wrong with them. And I said, instead of getting mad at them, we can pray for them and we can find a way to educate them and teach them how to treat us.
Oh, I love that. I love that you are encouraging them through doing the inside out work. The inside out work being, hey, let's talk about it. Let's address it. Let's go into ourselves spiritually. Let's see what God says about this. Let's do that work in us first so we can be prepared to answer questions, so we can be prepared to get through it. And also, like you're saying, not let it affect their self-esteem, not let it change how they view themselves. I have a question real quick. What are some of the questions that some of the community that you're in now, the young community in your community, maybe your children or nieces, nephews, what are some questions that they have now? And how do you think those are going to change how they feel moving forward about the entire situation?
Well, honestly, I'll say relative to our kids, they weren't aware of what was going on. You know what I mean? Because we did a good job of keeping it from them, but we also understand that we can't shelter them because that could do more damage, right, than good if we don't make them aware of what's going on. And so they didn't have any questions, but I did ask our son, like, how do you feel now that I'm telling you what's going on? And he said, I feel mad. And I said, and it's okay to be mad. And so I did let them know that our conversations are going to be more consistent. Our conversations are going to be more intentional. And I said, anytime you feel like you want to speak to us, please do so. And I asked my children, do you feel like you can come to us about anything? And they said, yes. And that's important, that they feel like they can come to us. And I said, anytime you have a question or something doesn't sit right with you, just come to us. And so I believe that as time goes on, they'll have more questions because they're aware now. The only thing they knew about was coronavirus is out here wreaking havoc, right? And now they have another layer of awareness that I believe more questions will come. But because of the consistent conversations that we'll be having, I believe that we'll have that ability to have that exchange.
It's so important, and you're right. It's great that your kids, and I'm sure many, many households are that same way, where the kids are allowed to have opinions. They're allowed to have questions. They're allowed to feel insecure. They're allowed to feel scared. They're allowed to, express themselves. And I know on our side of the community or whatever, and in the non-Black community, we are experiencing friends of my daughters who are up against bullies now because they have been awakened. Okay. Yeah. And these are associates of, kids who graduated high school with Maddie and friends that you would really assume we're on the same page with, but just recently are coming to grips with it, and they're facing bullying. They're facing a lot of challenges too, because they aren't all allowed to voice their opinions. So I'm wondering what you would tell a young person that's non-Black, that is struggling to have their voice be heard and to be taken seriously for how they feel.
One of the biggest things I would encourage anyone is always take time to educate yourself on what's going on, right? Educate yourself on what's happening in the Black community if you're non-Black, right? And then if your convictions are that you love and you respect humanity, then you speak. You speak about it. You write about it, you journal about it, you get involved in such a way that is not just about, doing a little social media hashtag, but really coming outside of your comfort zone, outside of your shell. I encourage young people to use their voice. And it could mean that they call their friend who is Black and merely say, I see you. That matters. To say, you know what? We've been friends for a long time, and I've always just loved who you were. But now I see you. I see your pain. I see your frustration. I may never be able to experience what you're experiencing, but I see you and I am here for you. That goes a long way. So it doesn't have to be a large, grandiose fashion, but I would encourage young people who are not Black or brown to be able to educate themselves and have conversations with the people they already love so dearly, right? And just express that, you know what, I'm here for you. And then ask questions. This is the time where we should bridge the gap and have conversations to say, how do you feel? And then wait for the response and then share how we feel, right? Because at the end of the day, my friends who are non-Black, they matter to me as well. And so to hear how they feel, how are they dealing with this? You made a good point about people are being awakened, right? I always love now being able to have the conversation and say, now that the scales have been removed from your eyes, how do you feel? Now that you've been awakened, what are you going to do? Because everybody is going to look at you differently now that you've been awakened, right? And I think now is the perfect time for everyone to begin having those conversations. With relationship, I'm able to now have difficult conversations. If I love you, we're going to lean into these conversations. If you respect me, we're going to lean into these conversations. And I encourage young people, go beyond the superficial and lean into the conversations and stand with your brothers and sisters.
Girl, I wouldn't expect anything different. This is What's Good Gifted. I'm your host, Steph Wood. I'm coming to you from my city again, Norfolk, Virginia. I'm on a great interview with none other than Nicole Ellis, and she just broke it down for us. And Nick, I don't expect any different because you are filled with the Holy Spirit. And a lot of what you do is dealing in love and charity and kindness and the fruits of the Spirit through ministry and dance. Tell us a little bit how you got started. Give us the short version, because I'm sure there's anytime you're doing something for God, you're going to have a long version and a short version. Is that all right? Amen?
Yes, amen.
So tell us a little bit though, why was it ministry through dance that, like, what was it about it?
So short version, before Christ, I've always had a love for dance, right? And I mean, all types of dance. Let me just say that. I can get down, okay? I know how to party.
Hey.
And as I became saved and developed in my walk in life, I always felt like the thing you loved, if it was before Christ, you had to let it go. But I always loved dance, even through college, loved dance, was exposed to so much. And it wasn't until one year I was dating my now husband, I visited his church and there was women ministering in dance. And I was like, you can dance like in church, like it's not like a bad thing. And from there, God began opening my eyes to a greater level of ministry. And later I went to learn and study dance, and I became a teacher of it and a leader of it. And so I'm constantly a student of dance, but now I'm able to pour into people. And so that is the short version. Dance is one of my, my loves. And now I get to do it and minister to God's people. And so it's just like the icing on the cake.
Well, let me get a 30-second timeout right there, because it is icing whipped cream, cherry on top when you are doing that ministry. It is truly a gift from God. And I am excited to, every time I get a chance to see it, it's great. And not only, you said you were teaching, learning, studying, but you've been dancing and ministering, up and down the Eastern Seaboard for a while now. And I'm sure you have many, many, many more events coming up since the launch of your new brand, website, whatever. You've been putting out some good stuff. You've got another new program called WIW. W-I-W. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so We is Women in Waiting, and that is for single women who desire to be married or remarried. You could either be a divorced or widow. And this is a time where God downloaded into me how you can have biblical principles on waiting well and doing relationships well. And so God talked to me about it a couple years ago, but I'm like, I'm not qualified. We always running. And
always running. Wear the track shoes.
Always running. And so we officially was launched in November 2019, just last year. And just being able to encourage women who are waiting, how to wait well. It's not about how to get a man in 30 days. But it's really about the whole woman and how she can do relationships well, because we have relationships beyond just the intimate relationship. And so I'm just super excited about it, and God is continuing to download for we.
Well, and I'm really glad that you did that, because I could never participate in your wives prayer call because I ain't one. So I'm excited. Yet. I'm excited that you did that, and you've gotten such great response. Even in your first visit, I know people were coming out pouring, and reports were coming out that you had really touched on a good spot with this, and the women were changed, they were motivated. So I'm excited to see what you have coming up next. I know COVID's kind of thrown a little curveball in there, but you've been doing some virtual stuff, so you keep pushing with that. I mentioned I mentioned the wives call a little bit earlier. When did you start that, and what kind of services happen because of that? Like, what were the spinoff and everything? Because I know it started with prayer. It had to.
Yes. So August 24th, 2015 was the first wives prayer call. I believe it used to be on a Monday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And as life has happened and there's been a shifting, the prayer call went from every Monday night to every first and third Sunday of the month at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And it is a 30-minute prayer call. Wives from all over the world. I mean, all over the world. People are calling in from Korea. People are calling in from Africa. People are calling in from Europe.
Wow.
All over the world. And I pray as God leads me. And at the end of the prayer call, we all come off mute and we release a declaration. And then every wife is able to carry that declaration with them throughout their week, their month. And so from there, birthed the She Prays Wives Conference. And she stands for Seeking His Ear. COVID-19, threw a monkey wrench, because this would have been the third She Prays Wives Conference, but we just believe God's going to do something mighty. And so 2021, Lord willing, we will be having the official third She Prays Wives Conference. And is where wives can come together, be inspired, be motivated, be encouraged to be that Proverbs 31 wife, to know that they're not by themselves. Because this thing about marriage, it ain't easy. It's hard work. It's ministry. Anything that is ministry is hard. And so banding together as wives, not to bash our husbands, not to covet what somebody else has, but to be united and equipped to do marriage well. I love it. It is amazing. It has been a journey of love, and I'm just super excited about what God's doing.
Oh, I can totally tell. You don't hide it at all. And there's so many people who are super hyped too about that, and about, wanting to get a good foundation, especially for women who've been married before, for the WE program, and then also women who are married looking to maybe make sure they can stay married. A lot of things like that. So something that I kind of want to point out about you that I think is so cool, and obviously people can see it by looking at you, is you are just you. Short hair, don't care, red hair. I mean, you are just fabulous. Tell me a little bit about how you came to get comfortable in that skin, especially being in ministry and being in the church where, you know, that comes with new pressures. I mean, but you got it going on, sis. I mean, for real.
Thank you so much. You know, honestly, it evolved from, you know, that place of self-love. You know, I'm no stranger to not liking myself. I'm no stranger to being put down by others, or even putting my own self down. I'm no stranger to seeing what society says beauty is, right? And trying to chase after that. I'm no stranger to eating disorders. That used to be a part of my life. I'm no stranger to emotional eating. I'm no stranger to all those things that we struggle with as women growing up. But something happened. Something happened about 9 years ago. I've always been kind of funky. Like I love myself no matter what shape I am, no matter what size I am. But something shifted around 2011, and it was a time when I went deeper in prayer and fasting. That God began taking all those skeletons out the closet, began removing scales from my eyes, and I began loving me. I fell in love with me, and it was a process. And every time a new layer of the old skin, the old woman fell off, there was like another layer of fabulousness underneath there. And so I, once I began loving myself, I realized I didn't have to apologize for me. I realized that God is not a one size fits all God. And so I normally, you know, rock a mohawk, put the designs in the side. I change colors like I change socks, right? And it works because when people see me, I want them to be able to see freedom. I want them to be able to see hope. I want them to be able to see a love for self, that they could know it's okay to be you and rock you. You don't have to be one size fits all. If you want to have polka dots on this side and a weave on that side, do your thing. Do your thing. But it was a process. It was a process. It was a journey that I am still constantly evolving in. And I love it. I love it. Love my new hair.
Well, it shows. And you inspire me all the time, because I think every woman deals with that insecurity of just not knowing if, I think the biggest thing is when we walk into a room, are we going to fit in? And what about us on the outside makes us not? You know, and how do we, and I think that's the insecurity of a lot of people. So we just, and you're just so inspiring, because you really, and you're beautiful at all levels. So that makes it so much easier, because, you know, you're just so gracious and humble, and it really, really shows. The events for 2021, we're still going to do those things. Praise God. Hoping, amen, something to help us.
In Jesus' name.
I mean, look, give us a rundown of the year. So I know you're going to be having some WE events from now to the end of the year, virtual stuff. What's coming up next? And then what do we got for 2021?
Okay. So immediately what's happening next, this month we're doing a virtual wives ice cream social. So the wives are going to come together with their ice cream, their favorite toppings, and we're going to just come and chat. I have a speaker that's going to join us and talk about being this wife during this pandemic, right? How do we persevere through the challenges? And so I'm super geeked about that. June 12th is the evening of the virtual wives ice cream social. After that, I'm still brainstorming some stuff. We're going to have another Women in Waiting virtual slumber party. We did one a couple months ago, and it went well, where we were able to have intimate conversation, dive a little bit deeper, especially during this pandemic. Like, I'm hearing women who are waiting, like, it's hard out here in these pandemic streets. So we're gonna have.
So in other words, let me translate for the people. Keep the we stuff coming.
Yes. Yes. And so there will be plenty more of those virtual settings where we can come together and have those no filter conversations, right? And so 2021, Lord willing, in the name of Jesus, there will be the She Prays Wives Conference. That will be the third one. We will have a Women in Waiting retreat. We were looking forward to kicking that off this year, but COVID came and interrupt. But we're excited about that. We will have a wives paint and pray. We do that every year, where we all come together as wives. We paint and we pray. We will do another Women in Waiting Sip and Savor, where you get together and have a nice little drink, non-alcoholic, of course.
Whoop, 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 whoop.
But just coming together, having a good time, understanding, guess what, we can get dressed up for ourselves and be around other women who are doing it big and celebrate each other. Lord willing, 2021, there will be some Prideful Product fundraisers happening that we can go out and help the community. So we're really looking forward to that. And that's all I can think of right now. It's like
that's a really good job. I mean, are you gonna sleep ever? I'm just asking.
Yeah.
Look, who am I? Am I the pot or the kettle in that one? Which one am I? I'll be the kettle.
I think I sleep more than you.
Okay, well, I'll be the kettle, you'll be the pot, and next time we'll switch. Okay.
Right.
You mentioned something that is great. You mentioned your Prideful Products nonprofit. Tell me a little bit about what you do with that.
Okay, so Prideful Products, we collect personal hygiene products for people who are homeless, and we go ahead and disseminate it out into the community. One thing we found was that there are a lot of people who are missing the basic needs. Toothbrush, deodorant, sanitary products, those things that we often take for granted. And there are a lot of women who make a decision between eating or taking care of their hygiene needs. And oftentimes they make eating the priority because they do need to eat. And so this is an opportunity where we're able to collect resources from all over. We have a Northern Virginia collection site, and we have me down here in Hampton with my board, and we disseminate into the community. And so we're just really excited about helping in that way.
Well, that's great. And I mean, you can do so much by giving products like that, because again, like you were saying, it's essential. So you're doing more than you even think or know that you're doing, because those items are foundational. They're essential. You got to have a lot of that stuff. So good job. And again, I don't know if you're sleeping any, but don't forget to sleep some, just a little bit, because you're gonna need all the energy for all the great things that God needs you to still do. And also, I say that back to you because I just learned how to do that, because you and all the other girls were telling me, go sit down somewhere. So tell me a little bit about the Nicole self-care, self-love routine, and where can I get some of that?
Okay, so as much as we work, as I mentioned earlier about I want God to download into me so that I'm giving from the overflow, I've learned the hard way about the burnout is real. And so self-care, I am queen self-care. And and COVID tried to come and interrupt.
He tried to mess you up.
I'm like, don't be doing it. Don't be doing it. And so one of the things is My husband would tell you, I get to nap, okay? That's one of the blessings about working from home, is that when my work day is done, I can get the kids situated and I will take me a nap, even if it's a short one. So getting a nap. I run and walk in the mornings. I love that. Just me time, no music, no distractions, just me, God, and the pavement. And that, keeping up that physical activity is really important. I drink gobs of water. That's my alcohol. And so, it might seem like something simple, but getting you a nice cool glass of water and just making sure you're refreshed, like that is a part of self-care.
Sure.
Taking those nice long showers, I get those in, I'll get those in. And, COVID-19, it might have caused some interruptions, but it also caused me to like, okay, now I got to do my own toes. Okay, now I got to, do my own facials and different things like that. So being intentional about carving out mental health days, I make sure I schedule a mental health day a couple times a month where I shut everything down. Let's get off of social media. I'm not going to log into work. Kids, I love you, but mommy's in the bed. She watching movies all day. If you want to come join me, come on and join me.
Right.
So I love reading. So that's a part of my self-care too. Going out on the porch, grabbing a book, just doing the things you love without the deadline of being somewhere. That's a very important part of my self-care.
So you mentioned,
to do it.
So you mentioned that you're doing a lot of individual things, like actual activities, like, I'm reading, I'm doing, I like to get my nails done. I like to do all this. I like to, getting your sleep, getting your nap, the water. And then right at the end, you mentioned something that I really loved. You said that, you have to do the things you want without having a deadline or an expectation to be anywhere else or anyone interrupting you. Like those are the fun places that we find ourselves when we have those moments with self-care. I am on the phone with the dopest Nicole Ellis, also known as Nik E, the 21st century Renaissance woman. That is what you are. On a full-time out, let's look back at the year 2020 and where we are right now. Started out with a lot of just struggle, a lot of chaos with the death of so many people, including one of my favorites, Kobe Bryant. The struggle that we've been seeing with COVID and now with what, again, our country is experiencing. Again, this world is yet again having to defend and explain yet another death, yet another murder, yet another lynching, so to speak. For you, being the community leader you are, being the mom, the strong person you are, give us some secrets to remaining sane, and what are you gonna do to get through it personally in your quiet moments?
Well, one of the big things is God first. I mean, like literally, as you mentioned, 2020 did start off like on a rampage. As you know, I lost my father 2 weeks into the new year, and I'm still processing my grief. And then, like you said, the ripple effects of everything that happened. And so for me, it's been spending time with God, leaning into Him, increasing my prayer, my fasting time, my study time, my worship time. I mean, some of the sweetest moments is where I'm just like laid out bawling, just like, God, I need you, I love you. And just waiting for Him to respond. I have a therapist. I advocate Jesus and therapist. And I got them both, and they're amazing. My therapist is awesome, and I check in and I meet with her weekly because I know for me, I pour out to so many people. And so in order for me to maneuver through all that's going on here, I got to make sure I'm grounded and I'm regulated. And so that's a big part, having that time with Jesus, but having someone else to be able to say, how are you really doing? right? Because we can get so busy that we say, how are you? Good. And you keep it moving. But no, she says, how are you really doing? And then she asks the right questions, right? That I could initially say, I'm fine. And by the time we're done, I'm like bawling. And so I think the secret is get you some Jesus, get them in a new way, because we can't do business as usual right now. And then get some therapy. Everybody needs it.
I know that's right. Everyone needs to talk to someone who's not going to tell the business. You mentioned one thing. You mentioned a couple things that were really important, but the theme of what you said was key. You're not sitting here getting on the phone with your girlfriend, you know, calling your mom, you know, complaining, just venting. I'm sure we all have those moments where we have to just have a conversation, but that space that we get to with that venting, with that complaining, that's a dangerous space for us spiritually, physically, mentally, emotionally. It's dangerous for everyone involved in our lives. And I think that level of anxiety, fear, doubt increases in some of us who are continually oppressed, continually murdered, senselessly killed, senselessly attacked, constantly accosted. That gets to this level where we get to where we riot. Some of those folks are criminals, but a lot of people who are out there are just fed up.
Yeah.
And they don't know how, they cannot process it enough to react. So I think if some folks like that would talk to Jesus, maybe, would get some counseling, maybe, like you were saying, and do less of the conversation with mom, dad, sister, friend, cousin, maybe they might have a better success in healing from it. What do you think?
I agree. I think we have to be the gatekeeper of what goes in. Our gates are our eyes, our ears, our mouth, all these different gates that we have. We have to monitor what we watch, what we listen to, and what we say. And I think that plays a big part of, if I'm having the conversation, but I'm just recycling information and I'm getting riled up, and then you mad, we mad, and we're just constantly recycling and rehashing the conversation, it does us no earthly good. It actually contaminates our thoughts. It causes us to have this sleepless, restless night. And then we go and we're now supposed to process a new day. We got to be able to get that stuff out, and spend that time with God, spend that time with a therapist that will help you have productive conversations. Don't get me wrong, I have people that I talk with, but it's about having productive conversations. If you talk to 10 people and you have to have the same conversation 10 times, it wasn't productive. At some point, that conversation should change. And so if I'm not going to have a good conversation by talking to you and then talking to 10 other people, I might as well do it with my therapist, who's going to tell me to get to the meat of the issue and throw away the bone. So.
I know that's right. Get to the meat and throw away the bone. You heard it here. Get to the meat and throw away the bone. This has been What's Good Gifted with an awesome episode with my girl, Nicole Ellis. Nicole, Nik E, Nikki, homegirl, best friend, mom, wife, minister, business owner. Any final words for the people?
I would just say, be intentional about loving yourself, live your gift, rock your purpose, because there's only one you, and nobody can do you better than you.
I just need to drop a mic dropped. This has been such a great episode. You've been on with What's Good Gifted, your host, Steph Wood, coming to you from Norfolk, Virginia. Again, I've had my friend, you kind of like a muse a little bit to a lot of people. So just be that. Anyway, Nicole Ellis has been on with us. You can find out more about Nicole at IamNike.com. You can also find you on social media. You have multiple social media handles if you want to give us those, Nik.
Yep. Fit for Purpose. That's Fit, FITFORA, Purpose, PURPOSE, LLC is one of my page. Also, I am Nik E You can find me on Facebook as well.
Yeah, and just be Googling her. She everywhere. If you don't know, you better ask somebody. This has been What's Good Gifted. Again, I'm your host, Steph Wood. I've been on with Nicole Ellis. You guys make sure to check her out. Keep pushing, keep grinding, keep living your gifts. I've been Steph Wood. This has been What's Good Gifted. Y'all be blessed.